Hi guys, I have wanted to do this video for quite some time, but I recently bought some new brush pens and I kind of wanted to do a comparison video of all of them together. I actually got 3 new ones, and that's the colour brush, the platinum and the Kuretake, the zig one there. So I'm going to test them, going through quite a few things. I'm going to do water test, Copic test, and also a fade test with an eraser. But first I'll go through and explain about brush pens, each individual one. And I'd like to say I bought every single one of these from a website called cultpens.com, which has been one of my favourite online stores for a long time now. In the description there's a link to their website. It's a UK based website. I'm not sure if they ship overseas, and I'm not being paid in any way to promote them, but I just wanted to share that awesome website with you because I've been shipping with them, or buying from them rather, for about, gosh, well over 5 years. I was buying from them in university, so yeah, I buy a lot of pens from there. I'll go through each one. We have the Pentel Brush Pen, which is a sort of fibrous brush rather than a solid brush. Actually, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, if you can just make out the individual hairs. And I think this only comes in black ink. So, yeah, and it also does come with refills. I got 3 refills, I think, with mine, and these aren't very expensive, and you just slot them in. I've already used 1 whole ink cartridge already. That's how much I've used this pen, so I'll just tell you straight up now that this is my favourite of the lot completely. But I'll sort of evaluate them a little bit more at the end and tell you which ones I like and which ones I don't necessarily like. So that's the Pentel Brush Pen. The next one is the Sakura Pigma brush, and these do come in quite a few different colours. They are disposable, so you can't get a refill. It's a BR brush, and this one's in Sepia, so you can kind of see that it's not quite black. You can just see a bit of the ink on the side there. The Zig Clean colour comes in a lot of colours, and as far as I know it's disposable, but it is very cheap. I think this was like £1.94 or something, like £2. But yeah, this is in dark oatmeal. It does come in so many colours. I think it's like 48 colours, so you could seriously go to town on this. It's just a crazy amount of colours. 2 of the pens I have here are actually a different style of brush, and they're called a Fude brush, and sorry, my Japanese pronunciation's pretty bad, but I think they are basically for, what I've gathered off the internet is that they're kind of for handwriting, but with like an Asian script instead. So I will show you, I will write some really bad Japanese later. This one's the Platinum Fude brush, and it has a black nib and a grey nib. The grey's quite pale actually, it's quite close to the cap. They have a much harder solid nib than a brush, so like these kind of brushes have a softer tip, whereas these can have quite a hard one and you can write with them quite easily. And my other Fude brush is a pink one by Pilot. This is the Pilot Mini Fude brush, and it's so cute. You can get this in quite a few different colours as well. You can't get this in anything except black, as far as I saw on the website. So I actually use this pen to write my Japanese homework with, so it's quite handy. The next one is the Faber Castell Pit Pen, which are quite popular, quite well known, and these come in quite a lot of colours as well. And this was my first brush pen, and it has a solid nib, but it's softer than like these two. You can get them in different sizes, different colours. They are disposable. The next one is the Copic Multiliner Sp. You can get the Copic Multiliner, like the disposable one as well. I think you can get it in a brush pen. And as you can see, I've actually marked mine ever so slightly. It was a green Copic because I actually ended up buying 3 brush pens. I don't know how I ended up with 3, but I had 3. So what I actually did with the barrels of the other ones eventually was put coloured inserts, and I changed the nib because again, I'm going to put my opinion here first. I don't like this one very much at all. The nibs are just, they're not that great, but I'll explain that later. So yeah, you can get this in a brush pen. It's a solid tip, it's not like a fibered brush. I'm not kind of like the expert on brush pens here, but that's kind of, if you understand what I mean between like having the individual hairs like an actual brush or like a solid nib. So, and this one is the Pentel colour brush. It comes in a nice little box like that, and I do believe you can get the refills for this, and they do come in a lot of different colours. Very similar to the Pentel Brush Pen, which is just, it's literally just called the Pentel Brush Pen, but the nib is a lot bigger. So, but it has the same kind of, like I said, let's see if we can pick that up on camera. I don't think it's working very well. Yeah, there we go, you can just see the individual fibres. I think they're all synthetic brushes. There's obviously no real hair in these, because real hair would make them quite a lot more expensive. I don't know, might be really cheap hog hair. But yeah, so I'm probably not going to keep it in this box, but it doesn't fit in my pencil case because it's really big. It's like massive. So that's like the size of the normal brush pen, and then these are just huge. So those are the main brush pens. I also want to kind of give an honourable mention to the Copic Sketch and Copic Chow markers. They do class as a brush pen, but they're not going to be in this experiment as an actual inking tool, because I wouldn't ink with something like this in a million years, really. You could if you wanted to, but it's really not the same kind of thing as the look that I'm after, if that makes sense. They're not as opaque as I'd like from an inking tool. So what I'm going to do is test them on a piece of Bristol board. So I've written the names of each pen, and I'm going to go through each one, test it for water resistance, Copic resistance and fade. So we'll start with the Copic Multiliner, and like I said, the tips are replaceable, but I do not like the tips in these because they don't last very long. And I've heard that from other people as well. So it's, I don't know if you can even see that. Yeah, you can see it's all kind of like fuzzy on the end, and it's been like that almost since straight after I bought it. And I actually kind of left it like that because I actually really like the sort of sumi-e type artwork, and that's kind of why I've gone over to brush pens a lot, but that's another discussion really. So I'll just create a line, and you can get different effects with it, but it's not really the best brush pen. Thanks, printer. Like I said, it's not really the most diverse, easy to handle brush, and I don't really mean that you'd get used to it. I just don't think it's the greatest brush pen I've ever used. So I'm just going to make some random marks, and I'll let that dry for a bit, and then we'll go back and we'll do the test. So the next one is the Sakura Pigma brush, and like I said, this one's in sepia. It has the tip's quite thin actually, it's really nice, but it does have a lot of bend in it, so you can kind of create really nice shapes with this. And if you're looking for an inexpensive brush pen that will give you the kind of the balance you need, then I really recommend this one. I've used this one quite a lot already, so it's probably going to run out soon, but I really like this one. The next one is the Pentel Brush Pen, and here we go. This is my favourite of the lot, and I have used this a lot. Like I said, I've already run out, but you can just create the most beautiful shapes with it, and you can go really thick and really thin as well. Also, depending on the speed, if you do it really slow, you get a really nice opaque line. If you do it quite fast, you can get sort of a fibrous line, like that. and applying a lighter touch. So you can really get some amazing effects with that. Next is the Zig Clean colour, and this is in dark oatmeal. This is also a real brush, as in it has fibres, so you can see that they separate when I draw. Let me just zoom in so you can see that a bit better. You can kind of see that they separate and go back in, so it gives you a real depth. And I would also recommend these for first timers as well, that want to get used to a brush, because it's got the capabilities of doing quite a few lines, and it helps you develop the the technique a bit more. So yeah, and I really like this colour. It's lighter than the Pigma one, so that's sepia, and obviously compared to black it's a lot lighter, so I actually just wanted a light brown, and this is spot on. Dark oatmeal, thank you. The next one is the Platinum Fude brush, and like I said, it's got two ends, and you'll see when I write with it that it does bend, but very slightly. It's probably not even getting picked up on camera. It's got a very resilient nib, but not so resilient as a multiliner. It's got some differences in it, so I really apologise to everyone who can write Japanese properly, so I hope I don't get this wrong. So it gives, with writing, it gives you the option to have like little flicks like that, so it looks really cool when you writing. I can imagine it would be, oh, don't look at my stroke order. I can imagine it would be really nice if you were writing Japanese quite a lot. So I really like this one. There we go, my terrible Japanese. And like I said, it comes in grey as well. According to cult pens, this is unusual that it comes in grey. It's really nice. It's really nice to write with, and I will definitely be writing in my Japanese book with this. Definitely. Something to note about this pen is that the packaging all came in Japanese, so if you don't know how to read Japanese, then you probably won't benefit at all from it. And the Pentel colour brush is the next one. So when you get this, you get a little red ring around here that you have to remove. You unscrew this end, pull the little ring off, and then put this back on, and you can sort of feel it pop like you do a normal ink cartridge, and then it'll start working. So this is a huge brush, absolutely massive brush, and despite how wet the nib looks, it actually feels really dry, and it's hard to explain it. I suppose you can kind of see it, that it's, that it's kind of it's very bristly, if that's a good word for it. I feel like it's not as smooth as this black ink, but I know that it will give some really interesting effects, but I probably wouldn't get the whole set, just because I feel like I've got to go over it a few times, and that really defeats the object of a brush pen. I get that the ink is translucent, but I feel like even if I go slow, I do end up getting a bit of a broken line. So I don't know, maybe the reservoir's not as full of ink as it should be, but that's just the feeling I get from this. I do prefer this one. I just wish this ink was in these colours, and maybe it's the same ink, maybe it just doesn't translate well with this colour, but I just feel like it's a bit messy. And the next one is the Faber Castell Pit, and it's got a really nice solid, very similar to the Sakura Pigma nib. and you can get some really, really nice line weights with this. Much of a softer feel to it than, it's kind of hard to explain, like it might be just the colour, but this feels crisper than this one does. And the thin point is not as thin as a traditional brush. You've got to really press quite lightly and then you lose some of the control. But I've created some of my favourite brush pen artworks with these. And they're super cheap as well, so you don't have to worry about the cost of these ones. And finally we have the Pilot Mini Fude pen, which, like I said, I write in my Japanese. Even though that's wrong because I don't need to put a question mark, but just so you know, it's a question. It says, it should say, what time is it? The current time is 8:30. So I really, really, really love this pen. It's so cute. It's not necessarily something I would ink with, but I just think it's super cute. So Kawaii. Okay, so these are the 8 pens that I've just showed you, and what I'm going to do is let them dry for just a little bit, and then we're going to go over them with Copic, water and an eraser. So I've let them dry for a little bit, and what I'm going to do is test them with water. So I've got myself an aqua brush here that was sent to me by one of my viewers and friends, so thank you very much. I'm also going to test with a Copic marker. I'm going to try a lighter colour than this, but this is kind of just an example one. And I'm also going to do a fade test with a Faber Castell dust-free eraser, which is also a present from the same person, and I absolutely love these erasers, they're my favourite. So they probably should be left to dry a lot longer than I've left them. I recommend leaving some stuff for maybe overnight or at least a few hours, but I'd rather show you straight up like what they're like without leaving them too long. So but typically I would leave them quite a lot longer than I have done. So I'm going to pick BG32 Aqua Mint, one of my favourites, and then I've got this as well. So we'll start with the Copic Multiliner. So I will say that this is actually advertised as waterproof and Copic proof, but I tend to find that it's Copic proof after a few hours. But it should definitely be waterproof. Might pick up some of the loose ink, but I can almost guarantee that's just because I haven't left it too long. Yeah, so it is a little bit dirty on my nib. It'll just clean off straight away, but that will just be loose ink. These are waterproof traditionally, so I would recommend leaving these a lot longer. So we're going to try the Copic, and of course this is meant to be Copic proof, and it holds up quite well. I have had, I find the thicker the nib with the multiliners, the longer it takes to dry and the more chance you have of smearing it, but that's held up quite well. I'd be happy with that. And the fade test. Yep, that's fine. Don't do it when it's wet. Didn't realise I'd wet that one. So next I'm going to test the Sakura Pigma brush. I'll try with water first. So it is picking up some ink. Like I said, you could probably leave these to dry for a few hours because it's not really taking away from the actual line itself. So it's quite good, but there is some ink on my brush as well, so just to bear that in mind. It does say waterproof and fade proof lines, so it's probably a case of leaving it quite a while. And I already know that these work quite well with Copics. You'll find with translucent inks that it slightly changes the colour of them, so you can see now that that's quite a little bit darker. But yeah, no streaking whatsoever, so they're good for alcohol markers. And I'll try and erase this top one. No, it's great, so really recommend these ones. So the next one is the Pentel Brush Pen. Yeah, you can see that it's bringing up a lot more ink than the other ones, but that means you can kind of get some nice sort of wash effects with it. It's not necessarily a bad thing that it's not waterproof, but just so that you're aware if you're expecting your lines to stay put. And then the Copic test. Absolutely fine. Doesn't pick up any of the ink whatsoever. And then I'll just do the little fade test down here. We've got Bumble talking as well. And now, probably won't pick up that well on here, but I have noticed that this does fade a little bit when drawing with, so it's kind of not, I can see it very slightly, it is a little bit lighter, don't know if it's picking it up, but it has faded in the past with me, so I recommend it a lot, completely. Like I said, it's my favourite one of all of them, but it can fade just a tiny bit as well. Next we have the Zig Clean Colour, and I'm going to test the water first. Now, I haven't tested this with water yet, so we'll see. Okay, no is the answer. Almost to the point where you can kind of like blend it away with water. Test it with Copic. As you can see, it changes the colour of it because it's a translucent ink. But no, pretty much Copic proof, which is really good. And I haven't tested it with fading yet either, so we'll try that. I'm going to try and actually get it out. No, not really. Hasn't faded, so that's really good. Really good alternative there that's a lot cheaper than most of the other brushes. So the next one, we have the Fude brush, the platinum one, and I'm going to see, I haven't tested this one with water yet either, so... Oh, it's still brown. It's actually holding up a lot better than I thought it would. I think we can actually safely say that this is very waterproof. I think the black that I'm picking up is from the brush itself anyway. I think it's picking up just a tad, maybe, yeah, just a little bit, but it's really not affected the overall writing anyway. And we'll try the grey one. Just realised I've left no space for Copic. No, the grey's pretty waterproof as well, so that's good. Again, changes the colour, but is Copic proof, so I might actually use that as an outliner because I like outlining in grey as well. And then the fade test. No, it's fine, no fading, so it is good for handwriting as well. So if you were writing in pencil first and then going back to it later and erasing it, so yeah, pretty chuffed with that one. Next one is the Pentel colour brush, and this already kind of looks like an ink that you would, like a water-based ink anyway, so I'm expecting it to, yeah, pretty much just hasn't blended away as much as this one, but it picks up a really nice colour. It would probably be really nice to sort of work this into a picture. So with the Copic, it's really not shifting at all, so that's good news. So I can use different coloured outlines at last. We'll try the erasing test. No, that's pretty good. So yeah, pleased with those. Just that the brush is a bit big and it's a little bit harder to use, so I probably won't use it too often. Okay, so the Faber Castell Pit also says that it's waterproof, archival type ink. Still got a bit of pink on the brush, so ignore that. Yeah, I'd say that was waterproof. It is kind of eating into the ink, into the line a bit. You can kind of just see that there. But it's not really shifting. So probably the more I go into it, the more it will pick up the ink. So, and next I'll do the Copic. Nope, pretty chuffed with that. So the last one is the Pilot Mini Fude pen. Completely. Doesn't even necessarily spread the colour, it just eats into it. And then with Copic, it's nice, but it turns it purple. So it's kind of a cool effect. But if you wanted it to stay pink, then obviously whatever colour you then apply is going to affect it. So there we go. And then I'll try and erase my kawaii. Nope. So fade resistant, definitely not water resistant, and Copic resistant as well. So that's all of the brush pens that I wanted to show you. My favourite one out of all of them is this one, the Pentel Brush Pen. My least favourite is the Copic Multiliner. Sorry Copic, I absolutely love everything else that you make, but I don't like this brush pen. It's just not, it doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. The good points are though that it is refillable, and like I said, you can exchange the nib if it does fray like mine. But that's kind of, it doesn't really sort of benefit me in the way that I want it to, because I wanted a really sort of organic looking line. Yeah, those are all my brush pens. So if you've got any questions, let me know if I haven't already answered them in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.